You'll be doing yourself a favor if you avoid noise and light before watching the video. The biography we are going to tell today is about Elvis. Elvis Presley belongs on the short list of artists who changed the course of popular music in the 20th century. He may not have invented rock and roll, but he was indisputably its first rock star, a singer whose charisma was tightly intertwined with his natural talent for a combination that seemed combustible, sexy, and dangerous. When Presley seized the imagination of America with 4 successive #1 singles in 1956. Presley spent the next 2 decades near the top of the charts, weathering changes in fashion, self-inflicted missteps, and comebacks as his music expanded and evolved. Throughout his career, he never abandoned the rock and roll he pioneered on his early singles for Sun Records, but he developed an effective counterpoint to his primal rockabilly by honing a rich, resonant ballad style while also delving into blues, country, and soul, progressions that came into sharp relief with his celebrated comeback in the late 1960s. Some musical nuances were overshadowed by Presley's phenomenal celebrity, a fame maintained by a long string of B-movies in the 60s and extravagant Las Vegas shows in the 70s, elements that were essential in creating a stardom that persisted long after his premature death in 1977. The myth of Elvis grew in his absence, aided by an estate intent on keeping Presley in the public view. His recordings were continually reissued, his Memphis home Graceland became a tourist attraction, and Baz Luhrmann's 2022 biopic Elvis introduced Presley to a new audience. The passage of time helped clarify the depth and range of his musical achievements. He undeniably kick-started the rock and roll era, shaping the sound and attitudes of the last few decades of the 20th century in the process, but he also built a distinctive body of work that reflected the best of what American music has to offer. Born to a poor Mississippi family in the heart of the Depression, Presley had moved to Memphis by his teens, where he absorbed the vibrant melting pot of black Southern music in the form of blues, country, bluegrass, and gospel. After graduating from high school, he became a truck driver, rarely, if ever, singing in public. Some 1953 and 1954 demos, recorded at the emerging Sun label in Memphis primarily for Presley's own pleasure, helped stir interest on the part of Sun owner Sam Phillips. In the middle of 1954, Phillips, looking for a white singer with a black feel, teamed Presley with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black. Almost by accident, apparently, the trio hit upon a version of an Arthur crewed-up blues tune, That's All Right Mama, which became Presley's first single. Presley's 5 Sun singles pioneered the blend of R&B and CNW that would characterize rockabilly music. Claiming that Presley made blues acceptable for the white market is not the whole picture. The singles usually combined blues covers with country and pop ones, all made into rock and roll, at this point, a term that barely existed, with the pulsing beat, slapback echo, and Presley's soaring, frenetic vocals. That's All Right Mama, Blue Moon of Kentucky, Good Rockin' Tonight, Baby Let's Play House, and Mystery Train remain core early rock classics. The singles immediately sold well in the Memphis area, and by 1955 were starting to sell well to country audiences throughout the South. Presley, Moore, and Black hit the road with a stage show that grew ever wilder and more provocative, with Presley's swiveling hips causing enormous controversy. The move to all-out rock was hastened by the addition of drums. The last Sun single, I Forgot to Remember to Forget, /Mystery Train, hit #1 on the national country charts in late 1955. Presley was obviously a performer with superstar potential, attracting the interest of both bigger labels and Colonel Tom Parker, who became Presley's manager. In need of capital to expand the Sun label, Sam Phillips sold Presley's contract to RCA in late 1955 for $35,000, a bargain when viewed in hindsight, but an astronomical sum at the time. This is the point where musical historians start to diverge in opinion. For many, the whole of his subsequent work for RCA, encompassing over 20 years, never recaptured the pure, primal energy that was harnessed so effectively on the handful of Sun singles. Presley, however, was not a purist. What he wanted, more than anything, was to be successful. To do that, his material needed more of a pop feel. In any case, he'd never exactly been one to disparage the mainstream, naming Dean Martin as one of his chief heroes from the get-go. At RCA, his rockabilly was leavened with enough pop flavor to make all of the charts, not just the country ones. At the beginning, at least, the results were hardly any tamer than the Sun sessions. Heartbreak Hotel, his first single, rose to number 1 and, aided by some national television appearances, helped make him an instant superstar. I Want You, I Need You, I Love You was a number 1 follow-up. The double-sided monster, Hound Dog / Don't Be Cruel, was one of the biggest-selling singles the industry had ever experienced up to that point. His first 2 LPs, Elvis Presley and Elvis, were also chart toppers, not just in the US, but throughout the world. The 1956 RCA recordings, while a bit more sophisticated in production and a bit less rootsy in orientation than his previous work, were still often magnificent, rating among the best and most influential recordings of early rock and roll. Before we delve back into the captivating world of Elvis Presley's biography, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for all of you who have been part of this incredible journey. In this Elvis biography video, I've strived to capture the essence of this legendary artist's life and career. Elvis Presley was not just a singer, he was a cultural icon who left an indelible mark on the world of music and entertainment. As you've journeyed through the chapters of his life with me, I hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for the man behind the music. Now, if you've been enjoying this video and want to keep exploring the fascinating world of music, biography, and culture, I invite you to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By becoming a part of our community, you'll be the first to know when I release new content. Your support means the world to me, and I look forward to sharing more stories and insights with you in the future. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through Elvis Presley's life, and now, let's go back and continue exploring more exciting aspects of his remarkable journey together. Stay tuned. Presley's, and Parker's, aspirations were too big to be limited to records and live appearances. By late 1956, his first Hollywood movie, Love Me Tender, had been released. Other screen vehicles would follow in the next few years, Jailhouse Rock being the best. The hits continued unabated, several of them, Jailhouse Rock, All Shook Up, Too Much, Excellent, and often benefiting from the efforts of top early rock songwriter Otis Blackwell, as well as the emerging team of Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller. The Jordanaires added both pop and gospel elements with their smooth backup vocals. The Dean Martin influence began rearing its head in smoky, sentimental ballads such as Loving You. The vocal swoops became more exaggerated and stereotypical, although the overall quality of his output remained high. And although Moore and Black continued to back Elvis on his early RCA recordings, within a few years the musicians had gone their own ways. Presley's recording and movie careers were interrupted by his induction into the Army in early 1958. There was enough material in the can to flood the charts throughout his 2-year absence, during which he largely served in Germany. When he re-entered civilian life in 1960, his level of popularity, remarkably, was just as high as when he left. However, Presley's rebellious, wild image had been tamed to a large degree, as he and Parker began designing a career built around Hollywood films. Shortly after leaving the Army, in fact, Presley gave up live performance altogether for nearly a decade to concentrate on movie making. The films, in turn, would serve as vehicles to both promote his records and to generate maximum revenue with minimal effort. For much of the 60s, Presley ground out 2 or 3 movies a year that were mostly profitable. This also meant that his 60s discography was soon dominated by soundtracks that were sometimes filled out with outtakes that had sitting around for years. There were some good singles in the early 60s, like Return to Sender. Once in a while there was even a flash of superb, tough rock, like Little Sister, or Marie's the Name, his latest flame. By 1967 and 1968, there were slight stirrings of an artistic reawakening in Presley through singles like Guitar Man, Big Boss Man, and U.S. Mail. A 1968 television special gave him the opportunity he needed to reinvent himself as an all-out leather-coated rocker, still capable of magnetizing an audience and eager to revisit his blues and country roots. The 1968 album from Elvis in Memphis found Presley updating his sounds with contemporary compositions and touches of soul to create some reasonably gutsy late-60s pop/rock. This material, and 1969 hits like Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto, returned him to the top of the charts. Presley returned to live performance in 1969, breaking in with weeks of shows in Las Vegas. This was followed by national tours that proved him still capable of being an excellent live entertainer. Presley never did play outside of North America and Hawaii, possibly because Parker, it was later revealed, was an illegal alien who could have faced serious problems if he traveled abroad. Hollywood was history, but studio and live albums were generated at a rapid pace, usually selling reasonably well, although Presley never had a top 10 hit after 1972's Burning Love. Presley's 70s recordings were pretty eclectic, running from country to blues to all-out rock to gospel. Presley periodically recorded gospel-only releases, going all the way back to 1957. During Presley's final years, his behavior became increasingly unstable. His weight fluctuated wildly, his marriage broke up, he became dependent upon a variety of prescription drugs. He became isolated from the outside world except for professional purposes. He continued to tour until the end, rarely venturing outside of his Graceland mansion in Memphis. He even stopped leaving his home for recording sessions, using an RCA Records mobile recording truck to make up the bulk of his final 2 albums, 1970's success from Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, and 1977's Moody Blue, at Graceland. A collection of these final home recordings appeared in 2016, titled Way Down in the Jungle Room. Colonel Parker's financial decisions on behalf of his client have also come under much scrutiny. On August 16, 1977, Presley was found dead in Graceland. The cause of death remains a subject of widespread speculation, although it seems likely that drugs played a part. An immediate cult sprang up around his legacy, kept alive by the hundreds of thousands of visitors who make the pilgrimage to Graceland annually. Elvis Memorabilia, much of it kitsch, is another industry in its own right. Thousands of singers make a comfortable living by impersonating the king in live performances. In 2019, the 50th anniversary of Presley's return to live performance was celebrated with the release of Live 1969, a box set containing 11 full concerts from his first engagement at the International Hotel in Las Vegas. A new generation was introduced to Presley's music and life in 2022 with the release of the award-winning Baz Luhrmann biopic Elvis, starring Austin Butler in the title role. He was nominated for an Oscar for his performance. The accompanying soundtrack topped charts in the UK and US. Sony continued to release archival projects in the wake of the success of Luhrmann's Elvis movie, including 2 box sets in 2023, the 6-disc set Elvis on Tour, which documented his 1972 North American tour, and a 50th anniversary edition of Aloha from Hawaii via satellite. And this is a bonus of the best quotes Elvis was said. Fingerprints are like values, you leave them all over everything you do. After a hard day of basic training, you could eat a rattlesnake. Ambition is a dream with a V8 engine. Animals don't hate, and we're supposed to be better than them. Thank you very much. When things goes wrong, don't go with them. Truth is like the sun. You can shut it out for a while, but it ain't going away. Man, I really like Vegas. When I was a child, ladies and gentlemen, I was a dreamer. I read comic books, and I was the hero of the comic book. I saw movies, and I was the hero of the movie. So every dream I ever had has come true 100 times. I learned early in life that without a song, the day would never end. Without a song, a man ain't got no friend. Without a song, the road would never bend, without a song. So I keep singing a song. Some people tap their feet, some snap their fingers, and some sway back and forth. I just sorta do them all together, I guess. Man, I was tame compared to what they do now. Are you kidding? I didn't do anything but just jiggle.